Hello and welcome, you're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Bugay. Let's start with the latest developments. Small arms, armor and other military assistance by the United States. All of these will arrive to Ukraine already this week. This is the last tranche within the assistance package approved by the US President Joe Biden in late August of this year. $60 million were allocated for Ukrainian Defense Ministry's expenditures, military education and training. According to the Pentagon's press secretary John Kirby, this is the way the United States improve Ukraine's defense capabilities.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you, John.
You know, we did approve, President Biden approved a $60 million security assistance package. The final elements of that will be arriving in Ukraine this week.
Can you say what those are?
Small arms and ammunition is the latest units that will be transferred to Ukraine's defense forces.
Ukraine will respond to Russian invasion with all power it has. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba told this in an interview to the British Sky News TV channel. According to him, Russia has deployed nearly 115,000 troops along the border with Ukraine and in certain areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions uncontrolled by Ukrainian government. The minister said that the problem is that Russia can quickly bring much more servicemen there. That's why Ukraine, the United States and the European Union should act jointly, Kuleba underlined.
Military option is definitely on the table of President Putin. He's considering it. But we have all the possibilities to deter him from resorting to this option. And there is big work underway right as we speak between Kiev, Washington, London, Brussels, Paris, and Berlin to set up a comprehensive deterrence package that will make President Putin think twice before resorting to a military option.
Ukraine will surely feel the results of talks between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin, but not immediately. Boris Tithenghausen, political scientist and expert on reputation management, spoke about this on air of the Ukraine in Fact program. He noted that Russian President Putin has simply decided to test the nerves of not only our country, but of the whole Europe. But even despite the build-up of Russian troops near Ukrainian border, the Kremlin is unlikely to decide on a large-scale offense.
As soon as Russia starts withdrawing its troops, the whole world will say, look, Biden spoke with Putin and Russia is withdrawing troops. This will not happen. Russia will continue its militaristic games. It will keep those troops for some time. I think they may even send some troops there, test the nerves of not only Europe but the whole world. And only then the troops are likely to be withdrawn. That is, Russia will never say something like, we talked to Biden, he told us to withdraw troops and we have withdrawn them.
The Ukrainian party has developed a document to renew the ceasefire regime along the contact line in Donbas. Members of the Trilateral Contact Group are likely to study it at an extraordinary meeting. However, all the parties should agree to hold it. Representative of Donetsk and the Ukrainian delegation to the TCG, Serhiy Garmash, told this and reminded that earlier they have not managed to agree the work of the checkpoints along the contact line with Russia.
Personally, I think that they won't be satisfied with our document because they are not interested in truce. Given we suggest to simply return the ceasefire and that's it. No conditions, only ceasefire. Previous ceasefire agreements had been working for half a year. Then everyone, all sides were interested in it. And now they are putting forward impossible demands. Very often those are political demands, which are not linked with the issue of security at all.
Croatia supported Ukraine's joining the European Union. The declaration on a European perspective was signed during a meeting between President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky and Prime Minister of Croatia Andrej Plenković on Wednesday. Earlier, the document was signed by Slovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland and Estonia. More details on cooperation of the states in our following report.
Food and pharmaceuticals, tourism and logistics, construction and even defense industry. Representatives of 60 Croatian companies came to Kyiv to take part in a business forum. Here they communicated with potential partners. Someone wants to enter the Ukrainian market with their goods, so they are looking for supply channels. Some are already working in Ukraine, but are planning to expand.
4 years ago, we came with Croatian business delegation like this one. We came in Ukraine, and in project like this, we make the business with the Silpo food. We produce a cheese, hard cheese from sheep and from milk, cow milk.
We have quite unique products based on honey that we are actually exposing here today, which are not seen at the Ukraine market yet. So we think this could be opportunity to have some new products on the Ukraine market.
The most promising areas of economic cooperation between Ukraine and Croatia are metallurgy, agribusiness and energy, said Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal. During a meeting with his Croatian counterpart, Andrei Plenković, he discussed the possibilities of developing trading relations between the countries.
We want the potential investors feel confident, comfortable and protected in Ukraine. Therefore, the process of economic transformation in Ukraine has intensified in recent years. This concerns the reduction of the role of the state in the economy, as well as the creation of new competitive markets and the regulation in general, the regulation of legislation. For example, the privatization process was intensified last year.
President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky has also met with representatives of the Croatian delegation. The main result of negotiations is that Croatia officially supported Ukraine's European perspective.
It is important to sign a joint declaration on Ukraine's European perspective. Croatia is already the sixth EU country with which Ukraine has signed such an important political document. We also appreciate the strong support of our Croatian partners for Ukraine's membership in the North Atlantic Alliance.
Beside the Ukrainian-Croatian Commission on Economic Cooperation held its second meeting. Representatives of governments of two countries from different spheres, trade, energy, transport, digital transformation, medicine, social sphere, met for the first time yet in 2018.
The result of today's communication and today's meeting are two memorandums of understanding. The first one on archives and the cooperation in that field, the second one on railway transport between the ministries of transport of two countries, and of course the third one was about metrology, and that was the agreement on metrology, I think.
Croatia has almost 30 years of experience in veterans policy, so we will strengthen, deepen cooperation and also rehabilitating Croatian healthcare facilities, our veterans who participated in hostilities in eastern Ukraine. Besides, we also discussed psychological rehabilitation of our soldiers.
In order for the entrepreneurs of two countries to have permanent platform for communication, a special body was created, the Ukrainian-Croatian Business Council. It will operate on the basis of the Ukrainian and Croatian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Reported by Yulia Krychkova, UATV News.
Irina Vereshchuk, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Reintegration of the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine, offers to increase the scholarship to 6,500 hryvnias, that is some $236 for students who come to study from certain areas of Donetsk and Luhansk regions uncontrolled by Ukraine, as well as from the occupied Crimea. The document has already been submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers. We have proposed to increase these scholarships. I hope that my colleagues from the government will support me, and I have no doubt that both the Prime Minister and the President will support me as well. It needs to be increased twice for those students who come from the occupied territories. This scholarship should make 6,500 hryvnias. I sincerely hope this will help a little. We are now monitoring the situation and see that the number of applicants is decreasing. Talking about Crimea, there were only 60 applicants, less than last year, but this is also reason to believe that something needs to be done and something needs to be changed. Irina Vereshchuk, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Reintegration of the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Reduce the number of conflicts in the society, offload the judicial system, and help the conflicting parties find compromise. Those are the tasks of the law on mediation passed by the Parliament on the eve. The document foresees settling of any conflict by means of negotiations involving a mediator who helps to resolve it. That is, no need to apply to court. Mediators can provide their assistance in any conflict or argument, be it civil, family, labor, business, or administrative cases. A mediator's task is to help the conflicting parties reconcile with one another and try to find the most suitable way out, they note in the Justice Ministry.
Будуть реєстри медіаторів, куди будуть входити медіатори, які
There will be a mediators registry who will be provided with the right for this activity. Those will be people who will have undergone a special training foreseen by the law. Depending on where and which body is going to conduct a training, this body is going to form a registry.
Коли ми говоримо про медіацію, це не тільки
When we speak of mediation, I should say it doesn't go about offloading the judicial system. The main aim is to help people reach some sort of mutual understanding. Yes, it will take time to get people used to executing their commitments, much time. But mediation is a very good way to resolve the problems without applying to the court, because, one of the sides of any conflict is always unsatisfied with the court's ruling.
26 million coronavirus jabs administered in Ukraine. Health Ministry reports the capital leads the race with 65% of adult Kievans having completed the immunization course. However, over the past day, more than 12,000 Ukrainians have fallen ill with COVID-19. Most of all new cases are registered in Odessa region and in Kyiv city. Besides, they also say in the Health Ministry that no cases of Omicron strain registered in the country till the moment.
According to the regulations, it's obligatory to thoroughly check all the samples taken from people who returned from abroad or who live in areas where the incidence rates are high. This allows to quickly determine new strains in case they appear. As of now, all the samples checked prove that only the Delta variant is spreading in every region of the country.
Besides, starting December 9th, all the unvaccinated social workers, employees of the strategic enterprises and civil servants are suspended from work if they do not have a vaccination certificate, COVID-19 recovery certificate, or a document proving contraindications for vaccination. They are barred from performing their duties. The Crimean Tatar house will appear on the territory of the Pyrogiv National Museum of Folk Architecture and Life. The project of the building has already been presented in Kyiv, and it will be built next year. It is planned that it will be located next to the houses from Mykolaiv, Odessa and Kherson regions. This will be an exact reconstruction of the house of the Crimean Tatar family in Bakhchisarai, the interior of which will be decorated with the works of the Crimean Tatar craftsmen. Those are ceramics, embroidery, jewelry and national costumes.
Є таке кримсько-татарське свято, називається Дервіза.
There is a Crimean Tatar holiday, Derviza, and we very much hope that in September we will be able to invite you and treat everyone with delicious Crimean Tatar dishes.
Буде і інформація, і візуалізована інформація.
There would be information, visual information, and interactive information. That is, the visitors would be able to join the creative process. They'll have the opportunity to create something material, like a cup of coffee or a small piece of pottery, or try oneself in blacksmithing and embroidery, like making Crimean Tatar ethnic costume, etc.
Deportations Visual Memory virtual exhibition was presented in Kyiv. 58 pictures from 19 private archives showed the history of Ukrainians from Western Ukraine who became victims of the deportations of 1944-1953. During this period, more than 210,000 Ukrainians were forcibly brought to Kazakhstan and Siberia from Volyn, Lviv, Rivne, Ternopil and Chernivtsi regions. The main task of the deportation was to neutralize the Ukrainian liberation movement in Western Ukraine. Historians say. My colleagues have more details. Almost a year of searching for information, dozens of interviews and more than 3,000 digitized photographs, of which 58 were selected. The organizers of the virtual exhibition Deportations Visual Memory managed to communicate with eyewitnesses of those events or their descendants who told about the life of families evicted from Western Ukraine to Siberia. The photo was taken by photographer Stepan Prutula. He bought a camera at a special settlement. He was 13 years old when he arrived in Siberia, and 5 years later, with the money saved on various jobs in a special settlement, he bought a camera. This photo shows a wedding celebration they tried to preserve living in such conditions.
The largest deportation was held in October of 1947, historians say. In one day, more than 70,000 people were deported from western Ukraine to Kazakhstan and remote regions of Siberia. They were sent to hard labor in mines, quarries and forests.
In October 1947, the largest deportation took place. 20,000 people were to be sent there. However, more than 78,000 went to those regions under the pretext of renovation or working in the coal mines of the north. This was done to deprive the insurgent movement of any material, moral or spiritual support. That is why those people were expelled to the north of the Soviet Union.
Participants of the Ukrainian Liberation Movement, Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists and Ukrainian Insurgent Army were forcibly evicted along with their families. In addition, families of Greek Catholic priests who refused to convert to Orthodoxy were deported as well. Witnesses were forbidden to take pictures of how the trains departed. In the town of Goshcha in Rivne region, 2 school children were detained that day, according to what was written in the document, for trying to take a picture of trucks with deportees, people who were taken in cars to the local railway station to be sent to Siberia. Those boys had their cameras confiscated.
Hard-to-pass territories, harsh climate and frost down to 55 degrees Celsius below zero. As a result, people got frostbitten limbs. However, even in such conditions and far from home, the Ukrainians kept in touch with their relatives. Reported by Ksenia Bugay, Svetlana Sich, UATV News. That's all for today. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourselves.